All right, all right. Well. I'm back for another episode of Cocktail Conversations. I'm your host, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the Controversial Counselor, aka the Devil, I guess. I guess. Um, Alongside with me, I have the Big Bad Wolf, Herb Lewis. Tonight's subject matter in the Counselor's Corner, we will be discussing the scenario Hurt People Like to Hurt People, streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. Please don't forget to like and share this video and to subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. So here's a quick snapshot for what's going down tonight. Dexter, which was dad, was suffering from a drug addiction and the vicious cycle that caused him to be verbally abusive toward his son, mainly during times when Glenda, his wife, was at work. His son Darnell, grandmother, witnessed the after effects of Darnell being abused. She would address it with Dexter, but Glenda remained clueless. So that's just the snapshot of it. I'm gonna go through and read the whole scenario. I could have just did that from the beginning, but here we go. Let me read the whole thing, and then you'll have a clearer picture. Then we'll go from there. All right. Dexter and Glenda have been married for 15 years. They have two children, Darnell, 9-year-old, and Carlton, 7-year-old. Glenda works the 3 to 11 shift, and most of the time she works, her mother keeps the children. The other times Dexter keeps them, but only if Glenda knew that while under her husband's care, Dexter is a serious heroin addict. He invites his drug buddies over and they shoot up dope. Also, Dexter is very abusive to Darnell, calling him punk ass, pussy ass, bitch ass on a regular basis, especially if he is not competing on the level with the other children his age. This often made Darnell very sad, so he would go hide in his grandmother's bathroom for hours at a time. Eventually, Darnell's grandmother would realize he was in the bathroom and would hear Dexter yelling, "Come outside, pussy, stop being afraid." Grandma would threaten to hurt Dexter if he didn't leave her baby alone. The verbal abuse, the verbal abusive behavior continued every time Dexter was high or drunk. Poor Darnell, he was living a life of pain and hell. Every day, young people are being abused at home and are faced to deal with those issues. Who's going to help Darnell during these valuable years of development? So that's that. And I say every day this is happening. We know it's happening with the child abuse and not only the physical element, but the emotional abuse, which seems to be the more long term effect that goes down often. And sometimes people live through those type of issues for years. Sometimes not even telling anyone till they get older. And can you imagine the trauma that it causes? So tonight, I just want to take a look at some of the perspectives that were said in this scenario. The big bad wolf's going to give his insight. We have one person in the studio right now. Lakia, we're going to bring her in, and we're just going to talk. It's not going to be all the therapeutic and all this stuff. I did also do a survey which dealt with child emotional neglect, which again, sometimes we kind of sweep that under the rug, but it was just some questions that if you answer predominantly yes, then you probably suffer from child emotional neglect. And sometimes people think neglect is just simply, oh, if you don't feed them, or if you leave them alone for a certain while, or just the basic stuff. But sometimes it's the things that's said or the things that children see also that causes is a form of neglect. So her big bad wolf, man, what when you hear that statement, hurt people like to hurt people, what do you think of?
It brings to mind the statement by Frederick Douglass when he said, "It's easier to raise strong boys than it is to repair broken men." And I think, especially with our culture, we don't really realize the damage that's done until people get to adulthood, especially males, because they're always told, uh, uh, just as you said in the scenario, toughen up. You need to have a thicker skin. You need to do this. You need to do that. And that's fine when it comes to certain things. I'm not I'm not above developing a tough exterior so you can get through some things. There's just some times where you're just gonna have to work your way through some situations, and then there's some times where you need to be able to withdraw and to seek refuge, from your daily grind. Because let's face it, I don't know too many people, regardless of what ethnicity you come from, what demographic you come from, or what class, that has a day where it just, that has a stretch of period of time where it just goes so smooth that you wake up whistling every day. You got always got that hop in your step. I'm just it, that's I've never really seen it. So maybe somebody else comes from a different walk or has some different experiences that they can shed some light on, because I just don't see it happening. So like I said, I don't care who you are, where you come from. There are some times where you need to be able to seek counsel or get some help or just be able to vent. And a lot of boys, especially if they come in, a lot of people, especially nowadays where the rise of single parent homes, whether it's male or female led, they're coming from, they're always missing that element. So if you're in a home where you have a dad that was a no nonsense dad and he always tell you to toughen up, you don't have anybody that's going to cushion that blow for you. Conversely, if you have a mother who's always there, you don't have anybody that's going to tell you to toughen up. So you need that balance. And so often in life, whatever we're doing, we're missing that balance. It's almost walking around with an ear infection, and you're constantly favoring that side. People going, "Hey, well, why don't you get that taken care of?" Children may not divulge that abuse until long afterwards. So I mean, it's a dynamic that I really don't think is spoken about a lot. And I think now with COVID going into its second year now, I think a lot of more people are going to start paying a lot more attention to mental health. And this is something that we've spoken about going back to last year. That you know um, pay attention to what's going on around you in your environment, your surroundings, and people, and there's slight changes in behavior, because it's gonna start appearing.
All right. Good evening, Lakia.
Good evening.
How you doing? Why you acting all shy? Good evening. uh, and good evening, Gwendolyn. How you doing?
I think she's
You must
muted.
be muted.
You have to
Oh,
unmute
you
yourself, Gwendolyn. There you go.
can't hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yes.
All right. So,
Can you hear me?
how you do? Yeah, we hear you.
Okay,
How you
this
doing?
is my internet. I told you I got some crazy. I'm doing all right. And yourself? How are you?
I'm great. Whatever. I'm living.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear
Yeah.
you.
Oh, okay, okay,
All right. So, Lakia, since you were the first
okay.
one on,
Good. I have some wacky in.
okay. So, Lakia, since you were the first one on, like when you hear that statement, hurt people like to hurt people, what goes through your mind?
I can relate to that because, well, just, from the things that I have endured through life, I have always strived to not be the victimizer, from being a victim of things that's happened in my life. And I believe that is so true because there was times if I self-reflect, that I would give off a certain like persona or certain like have attitude or act a certain way to make somebody feel what I was feeling or Okay, let me try to explain a little better. Like, because somebody did me wrong, and even though now they want to apologize, I still wanted to make them feel bad for what they did, for hurting me. I wanted to make sure I wanted them to hurt because they hurt me. So experiencing that, yeah, that's so true. Until I started dealing with that hurt and realizing, no, you just have to forgive and let go, because you're not hurting them, you're actually still hurting yourself. Like, I've learned that when people do things to other people, they're not really doing it to the person, they're doing it to themselves. So from learning that, I had to just realize, no, it's time to, just let it go, heal, and hopefully they be healed, and keep going, keep growing.
Okay.
So I believe it's true.
All right. Appreciate that. Gwendolyn, what's your take on that phrase? Gwendolyn, could you hear me?
Taking it out on other people. You can hear me again?
Yeah, I hear you.
Internet is horrible. Hold on. Let me move to a different spot. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you. Might
It
be
looked like she-
froze now. You might have to come out. You might have to go back out and come back in.
I have the worst
But yeah,
internet.
how were you able?
Go ahead.
How were you able to accomplish that? Because there might be listeners who are in a similar situation who are always looking to punish other individuals for transgression, and
Go
they
with
don't
this
know how
internet
to.
thing. Oh,
Oh, that's a great question, Herb. Thank you for asking that, because
Yeah, hold on.
not me, her.
No.
Oh,
Hold on for a moment,
okay.
because she's intermittent. So she comes in and then she disappears.
We can't have no dead air.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
got to keep it moving.
Well, honestly,
I'm-
when my life changed, when I accepted Christ as my savior, that was number one for me. And I can tell you when it happened, how it happened, how it got there. But my testimony is that the Father taught me how to be a woman. He taught me how to be a wife. He taught me how to be a mother. When I was lost, I was a young mom. I had my son at a young age, and hanging out, partying, trying to go to college and still be a mother. But one day he said, it's time to go home. And I was living in Cleveland, and I just heard him speak to me and say, it's time to go home. I said, okay. I packed my stuff and my little Escort and drove back to Niagara Falls and went to church that week and went to a revival. And after that, my life changed, because my prayer was, Lord, I just wanted peace in my life. I had so much, just throughout my life, I have experienced so much hurt and pain and just all kind of stuff, that I just wanted peace in my life. And a woman preached a message, and I just said, I'm gonna go up for
it's
prayer,
my
and
internet. I have the worst internet in the world.
I did. And after I did, I felt like everything that I ever experienced, all the hurt, the shame, the pain that I had ever experienced in my life, and I think I was around 21 when that happened, 21, 22, and I haven't been the same since. So from there, reading the Word of God,
I see you
just
coming back.
learning who He is, learning and
Yeah,
Him teaching me who I am, because I was a very insecure person because of the things that I went through. I was a very timid person. I was emotional. I worked in mental health, and and I'm trying to make it short, but I went to a seminar with a psychologist doing a seminar, and he had all these attributes of a bipolar characteristics, and as I read them, I said, that's me. That was me. That was me. All the characteristics of a bipolar person, I was able to relate. And I was like, Lord, you delivered me from so much. You delivered me from not being able, it was like I was never happy. You can never find me in a balance. I was either happy or I was sad. I had no balance, and just the different attributes or whatever characteristics of a bipolar person. But anyway, to make a long story short, as I began to keep reading the Word and keep seeking God for myself, not going off what preacher said, not going off of mama or grandma or whoever else said, my own experiences that brought me to that, being able to just heal. And I learned just to love, let it go, because I'm not hurting them, not letting go, I'm hurting myself. And it was eating me up. It wasn't eating them up.
Now, I'll follow that up. In essence, that's a form of therapy, and people will argue against that. And what people don't understand is therapy doesn't always have to be somebody that holds a degree who is either a psychologist or psychiatrist. A lot of people often speak to their pastors, their reverends, or a clergy member to get that type of, I'll term it as a catharsis, so they're able to release. And a lot of people, they feel like they'll be stigmatized if they reveal that they've actually went that route. So what would you tell people who think they might be stigmatized?
From that route that I took?
Or any type of therapy?
I think you got to find what works for you. Of course, I'm going to always say, hey, there's truth in the word, and that truth is what set me free. I'm going to always preach that first. But I would always encourage someone never to feel shame and wanting to get better in whatever avenue that is to help you get there, to take it. Let go of what other people think about you, because they're going to think, excuse my language, but you're damned if you do or you're damned if you don't. Regardless of what is going on, they're going to talk about you. Or, if you do, they're going to talk about you if you don't. And I feel that you just got to just do what's best for you. Another thing I started doing was walking in self-preservation. I used to, whatever somebody said, Lakia, can you do this? I'm like, sure. Can you do that? Sure, fine. But now I had to learn to say, no, I need to do what's best for me right now. And how can I help you if I can't even help myself? So you have to get into that mode as well. So if somebody is stigmatized, I will say, who cares? It's your life. You only live once, and that's real. And you got to enjoy it to the best of your ability. And how can you get there to do that?
One of the things, is that my mic? One of the things when you say about being stigmatized, it's only as much as you share with others that you get those, those stigmatizations, whatever, depending on people you share. Like when you go through something like that, it's about finding people that you can find a comfort zone with and trust with. If you're someone in this day and age with social media, it's people that they just blatantly put stuff out there, that they're depressed, that they're suicidal, and all that stuff. And I don't know. I mean, it could be a good means for people to get to you, but sometimes you do it on a regular basis, because there's people I've seen, they do it at least every other month. And sooner or later, people are going to say, all right, this is a little boy cry wolf. I'm not going to even entertain this person because they're doing this stuff for attention and stuff like that. So you got to be mindful who you share stuff with. And again, sometimes as children, sometimes we harbor that pain for years and you just keep it moving. Some of us have the ability to escape stuff and you can block stuff out. As long as you stay productive, you're able to get past it. Now, granted, there's always going to be a lapse in time that you have those times when you're not busy and something may trigger you to think about something. But for the most part, I'll say that with keeping busy is a cure to a lot of stuff. Keeping busy and keeping your mind occupied. It may be just, I don't know, some people may say it may just be a little Band-Aid approach, but I think if that's something you build and you're always busy and you're always productive, it kind of can heal a lot of pain.
And the funny thing is, I would say, let's see, the last maybe 3 to 4 months, I've been enduring some personal attacks because people don't like my stance on a lot of things, and that's okay. I can deal with that. People don't like Herb because he says this, they think I'm this, they think I'm that. I'm like, it's whatever. Why I always draw the line is with the personal attacks, and I've had done friends and people on Facebook, people I've known for decades, because of they're making these little quips, and
Well, before
I'm always the turn the other cheek type of person because I really don't want to elevate and escalate things to that level because I can, and I know me once things reach a certain level, I'm like the Hulk. You won't like me when I'm angry, so I've had to distance myself from that type of nonsense. But I'm always aware. I'm cognizant of the ability I have to destroy things. And what I always tell people is I don't want to go that route. I really don't. So I think, it reminds me of a song by Guru when he said awareness is key. And a lot of us, we don't have that self-awareness that it takes to realize when we're in a situation where something can push us over. And for some of us that don't, what we start to do is we start to self-medicate, i.e. we drink more, we start to use illicit drugs a little bit more, or we start to rely on prescription medication a little bit more to dull the pain. So we don't have coping mechanisms. We don't have the ability to escape. Just like David said, staying busy. Some of us aren't working now. So the next closest person to us starts to receive the brunt of that frustration, whether it's a child, a friend, a mate, or it could be a coworker that you just don't like. They always do that little something to irritate you, and now you've gone full blown on them. They say all I did was say this, and they just exploded. Well, that explosion has always been there. It was just looking for something to ignite it, and once it found the source to ignite it, it just went. So what I would always caution people is have some coping mechanisms, something that you can find that allows you to release stress, or if you can write about it, even journal. I always tell people, and I tell my mentees this, say, look, keep even if you just loosely paper, it doesn't mean you have to be in any particular order, and you just write stuff down, and you'll go back and you'll look at that and you'll say, you know what? I remember when that happened. I felt this way. And you'll start to develop a pattern where you can see how you dealt with things prior. And sometimes how you dealt with things prior is the best indication of how you need to deal with things forward, because you'll see where you made your own errors. And if you're the type of person who can self-correct, not that everyone can, you'll say, okay, you know what? The last time I engaged in this behavior, I got this outcome. And I don't want that outcome again. So what do I need to do differently this time, now that I'm in that bind? And that's going to be something you look at daily, you can look at weekly, you can look at monthly, or however it suits you, however you set it up. Because like I said, I have a stack of papers. I'll go back and I'll look and I'm just saying, I remember that. It wasn't funny then, but it's funny now. And I think humor becomes an effective way to deal, at least for me. It doesn't work for everyone. In certain situations, humor becomes an effective way to deal with certain psychological situations, because it allows you to look at yourself and it allows you to humanize yourself. I know my thing at work is I'm trying to be perfect. Doesn't matter what situation it is. I'm always looking for the perfect outcome. This is why I always talk about my situations publicly, because I'm not above holding myself accountable for what I do and for the outcome, whether I had a part to play in it, a whole role or a small role or whatever the case is. I'm always looking for the better outcome. So when I throw those situations out there at work, I'm looking at how can I handle it differently? How can I get a better outcome?
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Lakia.
I just wanted to share. Also, you guys mentioned about having to be tough and have tough exterior. Crying it out helps. You got to. That's one thing I loved, being able to go to the altar and just cry out and pray and cast my cares on God and to say, hey, this is what's going on. I need you to help me in this. I need you to fix this for me. And then seeing the results of my prayer is like it allowed me to see who I was. When you know who you are, it doesn't matter what somebody else think about you. It doesn't matter what they say about you. It doesn't matter. They're not putting no food on my table. They're not putting no clothes on my kids' back. They're not putting no pants. They got to pull their pants leg up one leg at a time, just like I do. So when somebody says something about me or to me or about me, whatever, and it would help me one day when if something was being said, and like you would think, and it reminds me of the foolish thing to confound the wise. It took the kid's riddle of I'm rubber, you're glue, whatever you say bounces off of me and sticks onto you. That's exactly what's happening. And I know that sounds silly, but it's real. You know what I mean? Like whatever, like you just said something that you thought was going to hurt me, but it can't, because who I am won't allow that to even come through, because I know who I am. What you say, your words could be hurtful, but they can only impact you when you think, if you think that what they say even matters. You understand what I'm saying? Like you can say whatever you want to say, it don't matter, because I know who I am. The other thing is I wanted to share, I wrote some notes real quick.
I
When you
like that.
give,
I like that.
what's that? What you
I
like?
like that. Taking your notes, whatever.
Oh,
That's
okay,
all
yeah,
right.
I wrote some notes because I will forget. That's why I want to make sure I write down, my thoughts. But and then what you put out there, like I'm a respectful person. When I say things, I'm not out to hurt people, and I know my intent is never to hurt. If anything, my intent is to help. So if my words went out, I just know if I said something and someone took it offensively, it's like I can honestly be able to look at them and be like, "Yo, that wasn't my intent," and I'm not gonna feel bad about it because that was not my intent. And since it wasn't my intent, I can walk away with a clear head. You know what I mean? And be like, "Hey, I'm sorry you took it that way. My apologies, but that's not what I meant." And I can walk away with a clear conscience because that wasn't my intent. And my intent with anybody is to show love and respect. So whatever you put out there is what you're gonna get back. I share with my kids, listen, somebody got to break the mold. Somebody got to stop the cycle of, well, she did it to me first, so I'm giving her back. Or he did this, he took my stuff, well, I'm going to take his stuff. Somebody has to break the mold. And sometimes you're just going to have to reap what you sow, reap it out and stop dishing it out so it can stop reaping it back. And then when you stop dishing it out, then you can allow that cycle to stop coming back to you. And that's worked for me.
Before we go further, I do want to go over the survey. It's not going to take that long. I just want to go over the results. Remember, I said if you found yourself answering yes more than no, then you probably went through some type of childhood emotional neglect. So the first one was you feel like you have not met your potential in life. So out of the participants, 60% said, yeah, they haven't met their potential. And 40% said no. And that's understandable, even for me. I don't feel I reached my potential yet. Certain things have held me back, which, was painful situations growing up that I know that if circumstances would have been different, I would have been at a whole nother level. So everybody's work in progress. And when you realize that, you keep pushing forward, and that's why I continue to push forward. And I don't give a damn if I only get one person come in or whatever, because all it takes is one person to be on here that could change the whole dynamics around. So I'm past what other people got to say or whatever the case is. Oh, he thinks he this, he thinks he that. I don't give a damn. When you're sitting around doing all that, you got issues yourself that you focus on that. And I don't have time for that. It's too many other things to do. All right. So I'm looking at the thing from my phone. And I got my phone on the timer because unfortunately, when you work at a school, if you leave your phone on the desk and you run out in the hallway, their asses will be all up in your damn phone in a heartbeat. So I got it on the timer that it kind of goes off. But the second question was, sometimes you feel like you do not belong when you're with family and friends. 33% of people said, yeah, they feel that way. They don't feel like they belong. And 66.7% said no. And, that kind of answers to sometimes when you go through stuff, you feel like you're not accepted amongst family. And we all have certain family members that you like, I feel out of place. I don't want to go over there. uh, I don't belong there. So anything to do, and I'll say, and for people on my father's side, no offense, but that's how I felt. After a while, first it used to be mandatory that we would have to go over there. I don't know why. I know you listening, Grace Glover. On Easter, we would have old suits and stuff just to go sit over their house. And then we got older, like, why are we putting on these damn suits to go sit over there? But I know that was part of the tradition. It never really wanted to. Nah, was not my cup of tea. Then when I got older, I was able to voice it. I ain't going over there. And when it was time to go over there, I make sure I wasn't around to go there. Because it just didn't feel right all the time. So, and I had a close-knit family on my mother's side, and those are the people that I enjoy being around. So I can understand where some people say, nah, some friends, some families, I don't get down with them. And I know the survey was 10 questions, but Herb, Lakia, if y'all got something to say to add to it, y'all can add to it.
I'll jump in afterwards.
No,
Lakia?
I can relate to what you're saying as far as some family members, you like some size of the family you don't feel comfortable going around. I remember, and it's still, if they watch it, oh well, they understand. It's tough because it seemed like my grandmother's side of my family has always been in a struggle with drug use. And so it seemed like our family, that side of the family, has always been kind of like castaways, the black sheeps of the family, and you could never find anything good going on in their life. And so because we know this, that we feel like the other like kids and other people in the family that are doing well and have degrees and look down on us. And so when we are around them, it is very like just hi, just all it seems more formal than family. That never feels good. But I'm grateful to say that. So even when some family members do have a moment of getting out of, they get themselves cleaned up, and I strive to be the biggest cheerleader. Okay, hopefully this time it's going to be, you're going to make it. When you're doing good, I'm with you. But when it's like united we stand, divided we fall. But it still doesn't mean you treat people indifferent because you live differently or you chose a different path. I'm not saying that those same family members can come hang out at my house when they are drugged up or doing things. No, they can't. I love them. But it still doesn't mean you don't treat them as family. You understand what I'm saying? So those are some of the things that I've endured with that side of the family that I don't always feel comfortable. I don't feel like they're my family because family love regardless. Family to me, love period is unconditional. Love period is, I'm here with you. I'm praying for you. I feel like I'm frozen when you're down. Doesn't mean you get my money. I might give you sometime, maybe not, whatever. But but still doesn't mean you're not family. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean you separate yourself to where you don't still give them love. So that sometimes that feels bad. But I can't say, and I'm grateful to say that I'm not one of those people that was in and out with drugs. I thank God I've been successful. My kids are successful. But it still doesn't feel good because it's my family is being treated that way.
All right. Latoya said, I don't know who got that.
Yeah, somebody has an audio in the background.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. Let me turn off my Amazon.
Here we go with Anita. Here we go.
I didn't know you can hear it. I can hardly hear it. Alexa, turn off. Well, dang, at least Alexa listens.
So Latoya said, I agree with David. Growing up, I enjoyed being with my mom's side more than my dad's side because I knew them better and we are a close-knit family. And so I'm going to move on with the survey. And I know a lot of talking points. This could be the gist of everything just going through this. And sometimes breaking this stuff down is helpful. The next question was, you often just want to be left alone. And this was rather close. 53.3 said no. I guess they rather have intertwine, intermingle with family, friends, loved ones, and they said 53.3. But then 46.7 said yes, that they choose to be, they rather be alone. So sometimes I wonder if the connection to that with childhood emotional neglect is growing up when you feel like you've been neglected by a parent or a certain parent, and you kind of escape that as an adulthood, you want to be alone, you want to be by yourself, and you feel like, hey, I made it through this point, whatever. I kind of did this on my own, and I don't want to be bothered with anyone on a regular basis like that. And there's some people that feel like that they don't do family reunions, they don't do gatherings at work, and they just rather do what they got to do and then go into their shell, and that's been their survival mode, and that's just how they live, and they don't care. And it's simple, and they're fine with that. They may have one or two people in this world that they enjoy being around, but for the most part, they rather just go back to their cocoon once they get through their daily activity. Anybody want to add to that? I want to give the panel a chance to, speak to that.
No, I do. And I do it mostly because I have goals that I'm trying to meet. So sometimes I'll sacrifice not going out of town to a family reunion because that's going to require me to miss work. And if I didn't have the vacation time, and a lot of people would think that, oh, you're anti-family social. Actually, no, quite the opposite. Anytime I can take the time to get away without losing money, I'm there. You know, like this year, we have two family events coming up. One strictly for the males, so where we're gonna bond, and then there's our family reunion that we're gonna have down in Georgia. So I'll be doing quite a bit of traveling this year in terms of getting out and getting away. So, but mainly because I have a bunch of nieces and nephews, great nieces and things of that nature. But in terms of immediate family, I just have one here in the city, and I speak to that individual regularly enough. And usually during football season, we'll get together at his house and we'll sit there, kick it, and do whatever it is where we do. But what I'm beginning to find is there's a lot of things, at least for me, and I'm wired differently. There's a lot of things in this world that I just disassociate with. And I think, this is just my perspective, I think it would help a lot of people if they unplug from certain things, because we are constantly being given negative reinforcement through music, the television programs that we watch, the people that we're around, and the things that they talk about. So, and that's how I screen my friends on Facebook. I'll look at your content, and if your content is all about one thing, I can't add you, because as far as I'm concerned, I don't always need that steady dose coming from a particular individual. I want a balance. So if you look at my friends list and you didn't know me, you would be hard pressed to tell what my gender is, what my political views are, what my gender is, just because I'm always looking for input from different sources. So when I post something, some people will say, well, no, it's polarizing. Well, how can you actually be sure it's polarizing if you're the only one that commented on it and you're the only one that feels that way? You have 6 other people who commented who feel this way.
Hold up.
So I always tell people,
hold up. I got to interrupt. When you said, your gender is, everybody know what your gender is, man. What you mean? If I didn't have the picture posted, I should have prefaced that. If I didn't have the picture posted. Right. Because just earlier today, late last night, my time just starts to merge, it's like a kaleidoscope. I posted about a WNBA player who's a heterosexual female, obviously, and how she's under duress and being bullied by gay women. Now, for those of you who don't know, the WNBA is the women's professional basketball league, and people really don't realize
how that stuff affects somebody. And this is the workplace. The only problem is this individual who's being bullied can't get any resolution because he doesn't have anybody to turn to. Those type of situations is where an individual has to be able to find some type of outlet, some type of resolution, because they're kind of locked into that. Basketball is what she did or what she does. Basketball player is how she pays her bills. So you can't always walk away. This is why I always stress a coping mechanism, because sometimes you have to be able to fight through certain situations and certain things so you can do a job, so you can get the hell out of there.
All right. Girly girl, what's good?
Hey,
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
All right. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, mental health is a really weird thing, and how it affects people, your childhood and the things that happened to you in your childhood, um, can mess you up. I come from an abusive home, and how me, my brother, and my sister, how we all chose to deal with it and how it affected us as adults. You can clearly see that with the three of us. Again, I've said several times how I've indulged my children growing up because I didn't feel like I got those things when I was growing up, that no one really cared. It took me a long time to work through those feelings of resentment for both of my parents. My dad wasn't around, and my mom just, whatever issues she had. But I blamed them both equally. Even though he wasn't present, I felt that they were both equally at fault. And it took me a long time to get past those feelings of resentment because I was carrying it into motherhood. And not that I showed any ill will towards my kids, but it made me bend over backwards in the other direction to make sure that they knew they were loved and become a helicopter parent, and all those things. And in my personal relationships, it made me cautious, and I guess that could be a good thing. But I tend to, I've gotten to the point in my life where it really only takes one red flag for me to move around. I'm not one to give people second chances, especially in my personal relationships. People have a hard time admitting that they have issues because they don't want to be labeled, or they don't want to feel vulnerable to other people. But you can almost see this type of shit in some people, literally, how they treat other sexes, how they treat just other people, the content of their language, all of those things. And I thought the title of this this discussion was perfect. Hurt people, because they absolutely do. Can't get through, can't resolve their own pain or resentment or whatever negative feeling they're having, and they project that out onto the world. You get to a certain point in your life when you're a kid, you're a victim. When you're grown, you have the wherewithal to know that you need some help, that you need to talk to somebody, that you need to work through those feelings that you have and not project that onto the rest of us. My brother, before he killed himself, he would never date a Black woman. Not never. Just not ever. It wasn't even in his thought. And he loved me to death, and I often wondered how he could look at me as a Black woman but he could never see himself dating anyone that looked like me. And that came directly from my mom, the feeling that he had about her. And for as much as I encouraged him to get help, he never did. And I always felt some sort of bitterness about the fact that his feelings towards her, he put it out there into the environment on every Black woman out there. And for the most part, on every woman out there. You know, he would only let himself get so close in his personal relationships before he would back off and, you know, and then pull him back in. And it hurts my heart to think that people are out there walking around with that type of anger, you know, in their heart based on something that happened to them so long ago, but won't make any moves, you know, to get themselves some help and to resolve those feelings. But, you know, again, I feel like people are wary. You know, they don't want to do that. They don't want that anywhere on their record. They don't want to tell their friends. You know, they don't want to admit it to their families, you know. So me personally, my job way back when made everybody go to therapy, and I was going to therapy to quit smoking. And actually, the conversations just went in other directions about other things that were on my mind. And I feel blessed that I have an impartial ear to listen to me talk with no room for judgment. It's a wonderful thing. So, you know, it's very
follow up.
personal.
Go ahead, Rebecca. I'm sorry.
No, I'm good.
Thanks for sharing, Rebecca.
Follow up what you said. I think the no judgment part, it's not important. It's imperative that people have that. And I think often a lot of people don't have the ability to go speak to somebody who's not going to cast judgment. And I've always made the Judge Mathis joke. I always tell people, I'm not here to judge you. If you have something to say about me, speak it. You know, you have something to say about a situation, speak it. Because I'm going to, I don't care who it is, what the situation is, I'm going to allow room for an individual to speak or to say whatever it is that they feel or they want to say. That's not my position to tell you not to. What it is my position to do is not take offense to it. And I think so often people want to take offense to something because they don't think it fits them. And I've said this before, and I'll continue to say it. I do not fight perceptions. It's too difficult of a battle to fight. And a lot of people are out there fighting other people's perceptions of them. And I think they carry that with them. So not only are they struggling with their own self-identity, you know, whether they're a good person, bad person, or just a person who's just trying to get along in the world, they're saying, well, so-and-so thinks I'm this and that's not true. Okay. If so-and-so thinks that, ask this individual, why do they believe that? Because I have a lot of people that you know, after having certain dialogues with me, they say, you know what, I had you misjudged. I said, well, a lot of people do. They say, but why? I said, because of the things that I talk about. They only hear that aspect of a discussion. They never hear another aspect of discussion. They never hear me talk about this. They never hear me talk about that. So the constant reinforcement of a certain thing leads them to believe that that's the only aspect of me. Now, what I tell people, I said, sit down and have a conversation with me. We can talk about anything. There's nothing that's off the table with me. This is why I do some of the things I do. This is why I went to a gay club just to see what it's like, because I want to be the type of person that's dynamic enough to be able to sit with anybody.
Hold up.
Yeah. I went to my Buffalo some years back. I went to my Buffalo some years back. Problem? Yeah. But I can do that because I'm confident in myself. I'm secure in my skin. See, there's nowhere, no situation you can put me in on this planet that I'm not comfortable. A lot of people have problems being comfortable in their own skin. They was like, man, I'm not going to do that. People think I'm gay. Well, are you gay? No. Then who the hell cares what the other people think?
So you wanted to go there because of what? to see if you would
because I heard all the nonsense about this and this. I said, you know what? Let me go find out for myself what the spot is like. I went there. I didn't get hit on. Nobody spoke to me, which was fine. I was just there to see what the culture was like. Because so often our images and our realities are shaped by somebody else's experiences. We rarely can call on our own experiences when it comes to certain things. And that is more damaging than anything, because we'll take somebody else's story and their story becomes our story. So you'll ask an individual, well, what are your experiences? And the first thing they will say is, I don't have any experiences. So if you don't have any personal experiences, then how can you be so adamant about a situation that you've never endured?
You know,
About
if I
something
could,
you've never.
no, not to cut you. I'm
Go ahead.
sorry to cut you off. I just want to share with you.
I
You know
mean,
what, Herbert? I did. You know, I think I heard you say that before. And you know what? I got to be honest with you. I visited 4 gay clubs. Okay, when I was in Cleveland, working at a restaurant waitressing, I met this guy. He's gay. His boyfriend worked at the restaurant too. And I guess one day his boyfriend didn't call him, so he wanted to go looking for him. So he drugged me out there with him. And I let him because I wanted to know. I wanted to see what it was about too. So, you know, honestly, I can't judge you on that. I was being nosy, so it was funny. We went to 4 different ones, and one was like the bougie kind, and they was all drinking their little bougie, you know. And another one, it was all in their leather. Another one was like, and then the next one was like all the fine black men. I said, "This is where all the fine black men at in here." Like, and then there was some girls in there, and the one wanted to dance with me. I was like, "Oh no, I'm with him," you know. So I was like, "I'm good," you know. I ain't dancing. So it was fun though. Then the last one was all techno pop, and they was just like, you know, voguing, and you know, it was it was funny. So just to say that I experienced that, and I've never indulged with another woman, thank God. Not that it's anything wrong with it, it's just not my preference. That it was an experience that I'll never forget, and I can respect and see the difference in how the culture is, and understand it. So I get what you're saying. There's nothing wrong with stepping out of your comfort zone just to get to really have a true understanding, because the word says have understanding with all men. How can you understand if you never walked in their shoes? Or even if you don't walk in their shoes, but how can you not understand if you never allowed yourself to get to understand who they are and why they do what they do?
Well, for me, it's not even a matter of a comfort zone. For me, it's a matter of expanding my reach on this planet. Case in point, I went to New York City by myself. New Year's Eve, didn't know another soul. My boy let me crash at his spot. He stayed in the Bronx. I went down there, man, hung out, met people from Belgium, Switzerland, and I'm thinking, I'm breaking my neck. Well, I shouldn't say I'm breaking my neck, but I want to end up in Europe. Why you come here? They said it's New York City. Where else would you rather be than New York City, near Times Square? Because we couldn't get to Times Square. Times Square was so packed that we were in what they call the Canyon of Heroes. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with New York City streets, the Canyon of Heroes is a strip of I can't remember the street. They actually parade the championship team down, and they have a ticker tape parade. So we were halfway up, probably the Canyon of Heroes, when the ball dropped, and I was like, this is something I could say I've done. I stood out in the middle of New York City, did for another person among hundreds of thousands of people, and had a fantastic time. How many other people can say that? That they did something like that by themselves just because they wanted to. This is why I always tell people, get out and live life. Stop living in this cocoon of safety, because the only thing you're saving yourself from are experiences. And at the end of the day, when you're older, you have your kids, or for those of you who have the kids, what are you going to sit around and talk about? What are you going to sit around and do? Play nothing, spades, poker? Me, I'm going to be able to sit up and say, look, I did this, I went here, I've been there, I've done this, I've done that. and I'm always looking for the new experience, because for me, that's what life is. I'm trying to have this experience. I'm trying to do this. I have my own bucket list. I want to do this. I want to go here. I want to try and meet this individual. I've done a lot of things, but a lot of people they're afraid to go out there because they don't know what lays out there. Well, what if something happens to me and I can't get back home? Something else. Something can happen to you to when you can't get back home within your own city. So what's the difference between being 10,000 miles away where you can't get home and being 4 miles away where you can't get home? Because if something happens to you in a car accident in your hospital, you're not going home for a while.
All right, we got Anita on here, and what I don't do is try to neglect anyone. So, what's good, Anita?
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Got my
What's your
feet
thoughts? What's your thoughts?
on what topic? Which one are we on?
You join in anyone you felt like you got something to say, a burning desire to speak to.
Oh, well, growing up was rough. We moved around a lot. North Avenue was rough because I was quiet. I was basically the only Caucasian little girl there, which I thought was like really quiet. So I didn't feel like I quite fit in there. My parents.
Oh, so you was the little white girl that you was riding your bike, and then one time I came by and pushed you off the bike and kept going?
Mhm.
I'm
That's
joking.
right.
I'm joking.
I'm
I'm joking.
My banana seed rainbow bike. Yep.
I'm
That's
messing
it.
with you.
Yeah. So sometimes, growing up, I didn't always feel like I fit in where we lived. But, and also we disassociated my stepfather because he was a terrible alcoholic. So me, my mom, and my sister, we disassociated him. So I developed something called reaction formation. So it's the opposite that I've seen growing up. Like my stepfather was an alcoholic, so I developed the opposite habit of not being an alcoholic. Not like him, I do like my wine and whiskey, but so dang, where was I going with that thought? So growing up, I think now that I'm an adult, I sought that approval from my parents, that I just wanted them to notice me and my accomplishments. And it just felt like ever since my sister came along, that she was so much work because she was hyper and stuff. She's a great person, but she was just a difficult child. And I didn't feel like I was visible, if that makes any sense to anybody. So all throughout middle school and high school, I try to make the good grades. I try to be a part of everybody's social circle because I didn't want to exclude anybody. And it was, to me, it felt like a lot of work to get recognized by my parents. Like, hey, hello, I'm here. And sometimes it felt like I wasn't good enough. No matter what I did, it didn't register like, hey, wow, you did great. It wasn't, so I had a hard time dealing with that growing up. And then it transferred into adulthood where I was like, well, let me try to be social. Let me try to be that social butterfly and try to make even more accomplishments. And then it was crazy because my dad, I don't know, I used to try to rationalize it in my head. Like, why doesn't my dad want to spend time with me? Am I not pretty enough? Am I not smart enough? Is it because I'm not a boy? Like, all these things go through my head, and it transfers all the way up into adulthood. And it's a lot of work sometimes that you don't even realize you're putting all that energy into something because it's so subtle, but it's such a prominent factor in your life. So I feel like mental health is very important to take care of. A lot of, especially among the veteran community and among females, it's very important. We live in a patriarchal society, which I feel can be a detriment to women and minorities in a certain way. But not everybody is ready to deal with their traumas and their ghosts and their skeletons in the closet, because it takes a lot of work to break yourself all the way down, be vulnerable, cry, and then build yourself all the way back up. A lot of people don't have that time to dedicate in their lives to do all that because they have so much other things going on that they need to dedicate themselves to.
Well, let me interject on that. Well, I mean, I understand that, but it gets to a point where sometimes you have to make times, and it's a lot of mental health issues that's going on that we keep sweeping under the rug. We keep sweeping under the rug, and that's why I took on this task to have these conversations, because I realized that a lot of things keep being swept under the rug. I'm from one. My father was that guy. He was that guy that did the drugs. He was that guy that had all the intelligence, was smart as hell, but just couldn't get it right because his father didn't claim him at all because he was too dark. Then once my grandmother passed, his mother, he just changed on his family. So actually, this is my scenario right here. I'm that little kid in this scenario. But as you know, as you go on, a lot of things I always wonder, like, man, like it would be nice, man, I play sports, whatever. I'm into sports, whatever. It would be nice if my father could show up to a game to afterwards to give me a high five, to teach me and say, man, you need to do this next time, or we gonna work on this, or certain things. But that didn't really happen because he got caught up in that vicious cycle where his father said, oh, he's too dark. That's not my son. And as I reflect and write these things, I think about as we used to go around my grandmother, and we used to ask my father, because he lived right like on the same street. And we'd say, okay, where's our grandfather? And he was like, and I don't care, whatever. He was like, well, he right there. Why don't we ever see him? And he wouldn't, he would kind of dismiss the whole thing. So I know all this stuff is real. And luckily, what came out of it for me, as much pain as I went through with that with my father, because I became his scapegoat. He took a lot out on me because my close relationship with my mother. I was her first child. She babied me, and I was a kid. She's supposed to baby me. She was supposed to nurture me, and but that was, I don't know, that it seemed that was a trigger for him, and he always thought that was going to make me soft or whatever. Until I finally got older, and I had started confronting him about stuff, and I told him, no disrespect, y'all might think I was wrong. I told him, I owe you ass whipping, right? And he was like, oh, now you want to jump on me. I said, I owe you one. I could take you right out in this backyard right now and do something to you. And I remember my mother like snickering. And then he was like, oh, you laughing? I mean, I brought you into this world. And then she's like, what can I do? He's a grown man. And I would never hurt him, but I probably would have did like, let's wrestle, let's tussle, then kind of threw him around like a rag doll. And then eventually just having him down there defenseless. And then probably would have said, this is how I felt when I was a kid, and you would come down on me. But also the cycle was he was missing that component from his father. So he didn't know how to handle having 3 sons and a daughter. Oh, he treated my sister like a queen. He treated her like a queen. She was everything. We were told to protect her and all that stuff, but he didn't cut the bill far as with us. Things happen, and that's why I became a champion for underdogs. So I'm always going to be the type of, no matter in what platform I'm at or what I'm doing, if someone seems like it's them against the world, well, guess what? Now it's me and you against the world. And I don't give a damn who it is or whatever the case is. It would always be me and that person against the world, and we gonna conquer it. And that's just the role I took on. Now I'm off my soapbox. Let me get off because I thought I was talking too long.
And that's important to have somebody in your corner when you feel like nobody's in your corner. Like, it gives that person a little bit more strength. I mean, even on here, when somebody agrees with me, I'm like, oh, thank you. I feel like you guys have my back. Like, I'm saying something actually important and like that you guys can relate to or something like that. I think that's very important. A lot of people don't have a support system like that. So thanks for bringing that up.
No worries.
The funny thing is, I'm on the opposite end of David's spectrum, being that, well, there's a couple different things for me that exist. One, I have a plethora of brothers, so it was never about support. You know, we always had to support, whether it was from my aunt, you know, who took care of most of us until she passed, or, you know, whether it was other brothers. So even though we didn't know our fathers, we've always had the male support. You know, the older brothers would teach the younger brothers, and so on and so forth. So we always had somebody there to take us out, show us how to play baseball, basketball, football, if that was our thing, whether it was track. The only thing we probably couldn't teach each other was how to ice skate, because that was just an activity our culture didn't engage in back then. But the one thing that, and some people say this is the detriment, which I don't buy into, but I'll put it out there anyway. I spent a lot of time in foster care up until the age of 16. Being in foster care did two things for me. It helped me develop my sense of individuality. So when there was something that I didn't want to do, nobody could move me to do it. And people will say, well, why would you not want to be convinced of doing something? Because I understand what it is that I want. And if it's not what I want, then I'll get rid of it. And a lot of people, they haven't developed that ability to establish a boundary and stick to it. The other thing was, being in foster care made me look out for my younger brother. I have a younger brother who's 2 years younger than me, but he was much less mature than I was, and in certain situations. It reminded me when our aunt passed. He didn't have a concept of death. He was, at the time, I think he was 5, maybe he had just been turning 6. So the way I had to get him to understand the concept of death was to explain Cinderella to him. That he understood. So he said, after 100 years, she's going to wake back up. I said, yes. Now, I knew at that time, by the time 100 years passed, he will have gotten older and the concept of death will have taken root, so he would actually understand. And see, for me, it allowed me to not only, like I said, develop my self-identity and establish those boundaries, it also gave me the ability to be independent. And I think so often, being independent and being able to function in a toxic environment and not lose yourself or feel the need to have to conform hurts a lot of people, because when people can't find something to conform to, just like Anita was saying, they seem lost. And I truly empathize with those people, because that's not something that I even worry about. You know, there's a group, because I'm a people watcher, so I can go to a club and just sit there and just watch what's going on, watch who's talking to who, watching who's moving with who, watching who's dancing with who, and I thoroughly enjoy it. I don't need to, I didn't have my first drink of alcohol until I was 24. And a lot of people just say, what? When I go out, I rarely drink. I just don't feel the need to. I'm naturally content just being around and being out.
So you don't think that, well, the lack of having your father around, or, you know, not having your mom raise you, you don't think that has something to do with how you view women and how you talk about women?
Once again,
I'm asking a question, so we don't need to. I'm just
hold
asking.
on. Let me answer the question. You're speaking from your perspective. And once again, I've always
No, I'm
told you,
asking a
I'm not
question.
going
I'm not
to fight
speaking
that.
from any perspective. I'm just asking a simple question. Do you think not growing up with your blood parents is the reason why you view and you speak on women the way you do?
You're breaking up. I have to ask the question again.
I said, I'm just asking a question, just a simple question. You know, we've had multiple topics about, you know, boys being with their fathers or being raised by their moms, but they should be with their dads, and, you know, men not being able to be emotional, you know, all these things that always tend to result back to the parent of said man or whatever. And knowing that you grew up in foster care away from your mom and away from your dad, you don't think, do you think that that's the reason why you have the view that you do of women?
See, the question presupposes that I was never around women.
Well, you just
This is
said
why
that you grew up in
let
foster
me
care
answer
until
the
you were 16.
question.
Okay,
Let
I'm
me
just basing
answer
it
the
off what you
question.
said.
The question supposes that I was not around women.
I didn't say
This
that.
is why.
But I didn't say that. I was talking about your mom specifically. I know you have sisters.
And you have to
nieces.
listen to the answer that I'm giving you.
Okay, so
The question in and of itself supposes whether it was my mother, my aunt, or any other female. Women at the end of the day are women. Doesn't matter if she was my mother, my aunt, because I spent the vast majority of the time around my aunt, which is a blood relative. I had no problem with her. I had no problem with my mother. The way I view women is the way that women behave now. Had nothing to do with them. This is why I keep saying I don't fight people's perceptions, because it's too much work.
It's
Like
not
going
too
to have
much
the
work.
perception of
It's
what they
never
do.
too much work to tell the truth or to to answer a question. But you just seem to have a very skewed opinion on women, and then you try to play it off as, you know, people have this weird ass perception of me and I'm not gonna fight them on it, when everything that falls out of your mouth, especially when it comes to young boys being raised by single moms, you not once have you ever had anything good to say about a single woman raising a boy. That they're always going to be lacking in something somewhere because they didn't get something, you know, from their father. And you can try to say that you don't, but you say stuff like this over and over and over again about women.
Let me ask you a
in
question.
general.
Let's cut through the bullshit.
Yes,
why is it
please.
such a concern of why is it such a concern of yours how I feel?
Because I want to know.
Answer the question.
We're having a discussion about open dialogue.
Every time we talk about women, you have something negative to say, and then when somebody
why is it
back
such
on
a concern?
What difference does it make if it's a concern? Just answer the question.
I just answered the question.
No, you
but why
really
is it such a
didn't.
concern?
You
my
really
views
did.
are
It
my
don't
views.
matter whether it's a concern or not. You always find a way
views
to
are
try
my
to
views.
circumvent.
Hold on. Let me intervene.
It into something else.
Let me intervene.
Your clear disdain for women makes me wonder where that's coming from. And because you stated you grew up in foster care until the age of 16,
Rebecca,
you didn't know
let me make this
your
crystal
dad.
clear to you.
I asked the question,
Rebecca,
is that the reason
let me make
why
this crystal
you
clear
have
to you.
that feeling towards women, because you didn't grow up with your parents?
Rebecca, let me make this crystal clear to you. I am not going to defend my position. I don't need to.
I know you're not.
If you don't like it, that's fine.
Which is probably why you're in
but I don't have to. I'm not harming anyone.
Yeah, you think that you don't harm
if I were
anyone with
harming
those
someone.
with those negative comments that you make about women, and then you get up
Okay,
on your
I'll tell
platform
you
and
what.
say, I'm gonna sit right here and I'm gonna stand here and I can't be
I will
swayed,
tell you what.
I can't be moved. But
You-
then
you
you go
find the
on
one
to
woman-
say negative shit like that, and you think that you're not causing any harm to anyone.
I'll tell you what. Find the woman that I've harmed with my opinion, and I'll apologize
Right
to her.
here, apologize then.
I haven't harmed you.
Okay.
You
How
just
can you
don't like it.
How
That's
can
not
you
harm.
tell me? How can you tell me what you've done to me or have not done to me? You can't.
Because
you
that's
can't tell me that.
because that's the same opinion you have of your brother.
Okay.
Your brother and I share a similar thing.
Exactly.
And you don't like the fact that he didn't like it, so you don't like the fact that I like that. That's not
No.
harm.
No. If you're
That's not
if
hard.
I'm not telling you to be a different person. I asked you a question. Is
But-
the
but you're-
reason why you have such negative opinions of women
But I
have
don't.
something to do with who you were not raised with?
Let me say this. Let me say this. Let me
No,
say
you
this.
don't
Hold
have
on,
to
hold on,
say
hold on.
nothing, because we all know it's true. We've been skirting around this bullshit for conversations and conversations, and y'all tend to let him get away with that slick at the
Girly
mouth
girl,
shit
I'm
that
not
he
letting
says
nobody get
about
away. Could
women,
you hear me
and
out?
don't nobody want to call him out on it. And now we have the perfect platform. Hurt niggas. And he steady lets that shit roll out of his mouth. And I can't say you necessarily co-sign it, but you let him get away with that shit. Well, you know that's not correct. Or if whatever is rooted in, if we're here to be honest, then be honest about it and stop trying to backpedal around it talking about what do you care? What difference do it make whether I care or not? It was a question.
Girly girl, can I just get my thing? And you know what? And you know what? Listen. I believe as a panel, if we're talking and we're grown and we're adults and we ask each other questions, we should be allowed to do that. I'm never going to deny y'all if you say, "What do you think about this, David?" I'm going to answer it to the best of my abilities. I may not go into great lengths and whatever, give a whole biography about it, but I'm going to answer it. So I do think what you said, you ask a direct question, it should be answered. It should be answered. If it's a comfort level that you can't answer, I don't know. If that's a different thing, but I think we've been doing this for a while. You get comfortable with each other. You start knowing each other personalities and stuff like that. I think we should be able to answer and challenge each other on certain things.
Let me jump in for a second. This has been going on for 20 years. Shorty knows my position. This isn't new to her. She doesn't like it. She wants me to change.
No, I
I'm
don't.
not changing.
No, I don't.
It was a
No,
question.
I don't. I'm trying to understand.
Anita,
Simply just trying to understand.
Anita,
Mm-hmm.
she has asked me before. This is not new.
Okay, but right now she's asking a question so we can have some open dialogue
Anita,
to understand.
I've never
Because
asked you
we
about
understand
your
the
childhood.
answer is
Things
I've
it's
been
not
through
going to
over 20
change
years, and
now.
I've never once asked you about your childhood. Not ever. I know your brother. I grew up with your brother, so I kind of sort of know. I don't know about you. You can roll your eyes all you want. We always had other controversial conversations about other things. Plenty of them, I will admit. But I have.
Let me ask you a question. Have you not asked me about my views on women, and why do I have them?
Yes.
So let's hear the answer.
So it's the same
Let him
question.
answer.
You're just
Let
phrasing
him
it in
answer.
different.
Let him answer. Could you answer her question? What was your answer to her question?
He's not going to answer that.
Okay, let him say
answer
something.
was-
Let him say something. Let's hear it.
My answer is this. She's asking me the question as if I have a problem with women. And I keep saying I don't. She doesn't believe it. I'm not trying to get her to believe it. If I say something, take me at face value.
Can't take that.
She's never interacted with me in a romantic setting, so she doesn't know. The only thing she knows is the conversations we had. And that's what I said. If I consistently have a certain conversation, then you will develop a certain view. I'm aware of that. I'm not trying to change anyone's opinion.
So let me
I
ask you
said
a
that.
question. Okay, since we're on this topic of hurting people, hurt people. So may I ask you, Rebecca, maybe how did you feel offended by what Herb said? Because I don't know. I wasn't.
There were prior shows where he made some comments about single moms raising sons. And I somewhere along the conversation, I let him know how offended I was at a comment he made, and I can't recall the specific statement, but it had something to do with, you know, a female can't raise a male, you know, to be a man, when my feeling is a person should be able to raise another person to be a good person. You're a man or a woman by default. You know, there's nothing that a woman can do outside of the biological things that we do that a man can't do, and vice versa. And he made this statement like, go get a towel and wet it and try to wring it out, and then let your son wring it out. And which I found to be totally offensive, but I digress because we are where we are. I'm not trying to get you to change. Recognize that. Every time I talk to you, I'm trying to understand who you really are and where some of that stuff comes from. You know, you say that you don't care about other people's opinions, and I will say I 100% believe that. When you say that, I do believe that. However, it does not mean that I'm still not trying to understand why you seem to have such a negative opinion of women in general. And you try to say that you don't, but I'm sure if you took a poll of every viewer in here, you would get more positives than you would negatives. And again, I know that wouldn't mean anything to you, but it doesn't make it any less true. And I'm just kind of tired of skirting around that fucking issue. So,
you know, I guess if he didn't left.
Yeah, that's how it comes across.
But you know, I think he'll be back. My thing is this, like, I was a single mother at 6. I had a son at 16 years old, and I was a single mother. I was a single mother when I had my second child, and my son could tell you his story of when he disrespected me as a kid, and I picked him up with one arm. I grabbed him by his shirt and I picked him up, and I promise you, he ain't never forget that a day in his life. So I know the piece of, so for me saying that, I don't know if it's my internet that's lagging, but for me, I'm sharing that because the fact of that's his opinion. We are, I'm going to say anybody and everybody are free to feel and be whoever they are in this life, right? Whatever so yeah, I mean, I would say I can't take that offensive for him saying that. That's how he feel, but I can show him better than I can tell him. I'm from the show me stage. I can show you better than I can tell you. So if you feel a particular way, let me show you how it's really done, boo. Because if you really want to see some truth, I can show that to you. Because I know I've been through some stuff. My son now probably I tried to spank him when he got older and my hand went numb. Yeah. Okay, he got of age. As David said, he was ready to beat his dad up. He could have beat him up. My son could have, but because of the fear that I put him as a young man, he won't try it now, even though he think he probably get me, but he don't know. I might do a move on him and put him right down. He don't know. He'll never know. He'll never know. But I don't know how to spank his hand or his butt no more. My hand went numb.
I just have one question.
Who got all this feedback? I don't know if they listen to two different things at one time.
That's typically what it is when you hear that feedback.
I don't know who it is.
No,
as far as this comment down here, I can make he was born a male. So a man is just a title, so he can take that shit and move the fuck on, you know, with that comment. My son is gonna be a wonderful person, which is gonna make him a wonderful man. I really get so fucking sick and tired of people talking about only a man can make another man a man.
what does that even mean?
Can make another woman, you know, a woman. A good person can raise another good person, period.
I'm gonna start deleting muting people who I think with all this feedback. Know what y'all really should do? You really need to have some type of headsets or something on when you coming on, whatever. It drowns out background noise.
It's not me.
Because it's two things that impact podcast and virtual stuff: the sound and the lighting. So if someone think you want to be romantic, you want to come on here and it's complete dark, that's a turn off. The lighting and the sound. So when you hear all this feedback and all that stuff, whatever, people they tune out of that stuff, whatever. And I'm gonna give y'all a chance to talk, but I want to speak to that. And I know Rebecca said, because Dietrich said, Rebecca, she can raise a son, however, she can't make a man a man. And my mother raised 3 sons. She raised 3 sons, and we all, we ain't been in and out of jail. We all got college degrees and all that. But we found that those manhood lessons elsewhere. We got some of it from my grandfather. Dietrich and my brother Carlos, they joined the Nation of Islam. So they were around strong men under the direction of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable, Louis Farrakhan, that they got those things. Me, I was into sports. So I interacted with coaches and different things like that. And some of my older mentors that were in higher education took me under their wings. So there's certain components that you get from other males that's vital. I don't think if he don't get those components from somewhere else, I don't know how successful he gonna be. If he's just hearing, it's the components from him. It's components that a man. It's some components that a man can tell you that a woman can't tell you.
I'll give my
David,
own
man, let it go.
I'll give my own example. As my son raising a son, for me raising a son and raising 3, I have 3 boys. They need their daddy in their life. They need their father to teach them how to be as men. I'm not a man. I am a woman. It does not mean I can't teach them empathy. Does not mean I can't teach them how to be a gentleman. It does not mean I can't teach them how to work on a car. It does not mean I can't teach them how to drive. But there are some things that some things about a man that I cannot teach him. That's just period. I'm not going to try to, and the thing is, sometimes we need to stay in our lane. I think we're too busy trying to be in too many lanes and not allowing ourselves to let somebody else put a nurturing that's necessary, that a man was created for, just as we were created for a purpose as well. If it was something if you take it biblically, he created man first. So he was created with everything that was necessary, and everything that was made. That we weren't even. He called us helpmeets. Let me grab him. Let me make him a helpmeet. We were the helpmeet, not the head. We weren't the beginning of what was created. Man was. So knowing that principle, knowing that foundation was created, that a man was created to name every animal on this planet, every whatever that's on this planet, that was fruit, fish, animal, whatever. That means that man had within him to do what was necessary, but he couldn't create children. He needed a woman to create children. He couldn't do that of himself. So he had a man and woman to come together to do it together because it's necessary. So to say that when God created man and woman, and it's not necessary for a man to be present in the process, I don't think that's flowing biblically. That's all I'm saying.
Now let me add to this, and I want to bring Latoya into it. My mother could teach us everything. Anybody know her? She's probably one of the most compassionate, sweetest people you can know, and that's her nature. And she's taught us always to be like that, to respect others and don't go out there and be disrespectful. And she taught us well as far as that. but then that tough exterior, and some women have it. I ain't gonna say y'all don't have it, but it's different coming from a man when they looking at you and you know that shit, you have this fear factor that, and they can walk that walk and talk that talk, and you know, and you watch them walk and you say, hey man, what he's speaking is the truth, and I'm gonna walk, you know, I'm gonna follow his lead. It's different. Certain circumstances don't prevent women. They may not have that man. They may not have an uncle. Everybody might be in the same situation in that you have to do it all on your own. I don't knock that. And
But
that's not going to make
it's
your
different,
son
does
less
it
than a
make
man.
it wrong?
I'm not saying it's wrong.
Thank you.
But
That's
I'm saying,
there you go.
but what I'm saying
There you
is
go.
it's a different component when you have men in your life that can do that. It's just different. And no one can, there's no research, quantitative research to say, okay, this is why it happens. Stuff is thrown out there, but it's just, I don't know. I can't, it's hard to explain, but it's just that one of those innate things that you know, like it's different.
It must be hard because I ask this question over and over again because I feel like people fall into these gender roles when they talk about boys to men, girls to women, because and I really do stand by this. It takes a good person to raise another good person, male or female, and your default by your sex. But I know plenty of kids, growing up, they stood in fear of their mom way more than their dad because their mom had business. And I'm not saying that it would be the ideal situation would be for Earl to have grown up with his mother and father present. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that when one is absent, I feel personally offended when people say I can't be successful in raising a well-rounded male that becomes a man because he's lacking something, because he didn't see his dad stand up and square his shoulders off like his mom can't do that too.
Hey, Sweet Pea, listen to this. You may never know that if your child, once he gets older and start developing, and he may say, I wish that I could tell you a perfect example for me. When I was in college, and I'm not going to make this a long story, and I had the opportunity, one of my white advisors who decided to take on me out of anybody, and she said, David, I want you to go work on this intern in DC. And I don't know who was the president running at the time. It might have been Bill Clinton or whatever. And she was like, it's an intern for 6 weeks. And, I had to talk to my mother. I was scared as hell, like DC. And at that time, they was talking about that was the number one crime area, capital, number one top places for murders. So I'm like, I ain't never really been away. I went to college down the street. So, my mother, knowing the statistics, and said, well, I don't know about that, whatever. DC, they doing all the murders, whatever. I don't think you should go. And in my heart, I wanted to go. I'm like, man, I could go there and meet all these people, but I just needed some reassurance. Now, had my father been in a household, he may have said, take your little nappy head ass there. You're going to go there. And if it don't work out, we can always come get you, and you're going to be all right. But let me stop, because some women will say that. Like, listen, go out there, explore the world, and see what happens. So it's no absolutes. There's no absolutes.
That's all I'm
but
saying.
In my particular situation, my mother was always the nurturing, caregiving, and all she thought was about like something happening, like I was going to be in the crossfire. And I'm thinking, like, I'm going to be like on Capitol Hill somewhere where the protection is going to be like, I'm going to be like a golden child there. And I never went because of that. And I'm not blaming my mother for that, but wish my father would have been around, that I could have said, even if they wasn't together, say, hey, Dad. Well, I called him David. And that was just me. I was just a little ignorant child. I called my mother Grace. That's her name. I was just ignorant. So, and I could have said, David, I got this opportunity. What do you think? And if he wasn't on the stuff that he was on, he's like, man, go ahead, man. What you got to lose? Whatever. What you gonna be doing now? You can sit around here for the summer with these knuckleheads sipping on 40 ounces and doing all that stuff, or you could be doing something outstanding, whatever. And women could do that too. So none of this stuff, whatever. We argue, go back and forth, whatever. But there's no absolutes to any of this, because it could take one mother like yourself, Rebecca, to say, yeah, you're going to take your ass to DC, do that internship. And we're going to have enough money that if I need to come get you, I'll come get you. And that is fine. But I just was trying to throw that example out in my case. I'm done. Yeah, go ahead. Oh no! I got to bring in my girl.
I didn't want anybody to think that. I'm sorry.
I want to bring in Brolic T because she's in here. Go ahead.
Meanwhile, I would like for Herb to answer her question, because although him and Rebecca have had this conversation
Herb, let her finish.
No, I'm just saying. You and Rebecca have known each other for decades, so you guys have had this conversation
anymore.
It will give us, some insight into why.
I am not discussing it anymore.
Yeah. Right.
Anytime I get started, I'm always interrupted. I'm always diverted. I'm always sidetracked. So you get no more answers to the question. Is that understood?
100% silence, because this is like something that we would actually like to know.
No. That ship is already sailed. That ship is already sailed.
That ship was never on the table. Are you for real, bruh? You're so self-deluded.
You're lagging, Herb.
That's what you can then.
You're lagging, Herb. It's like he said. Everybody doesn't have to answer a question. I respect that. So, by the way, you're lagging. So I don't know if you know that or not, but you are.
That is true. Everybody doesn't have
I don't want anybody to. Yeah, he doesn't have to answer the question. I don't want anybody to think that I'm anti-man, because I'm not. And Earl had time with his father, not as much as either one of them wanted, and that was by their choice. It didn't have anything to do with me. I just, as a single parent, again, I feel like that is a comment geared towards me, which is why I have my personal feelings about it, that it can be done and it can be done successfully. I put in over 30 years of raising children, and I won't be outdone, by somebody's negative comments that it cannot be done, because it most certainly can be done. So I firmly believe in a family unit. I wish I had a family unit, but our family unit consisted of one parent and 3 kids, and we made it work, and we made it work successfully. So,
I just wanted to share. I was raised by my grandparents, and then I moved with my mother. And she was a single parent, and she had my stepfather got married, and so I was the only child. It was only me. I didn't meet my father, my real father, until I was 16. And I know that was a huge impact for my life, that I didn't have my father in my life. I know, because I always looked for love in men. I always wanted to just be loved by a man a certain way. And when I got married, because my dad wasn't in my life, I wanted to be loved by a man. And when I got married and I had my third child, my first child with him, I was jealous of the relationship that he had with his daughter. And because I was like, why is he not loving and hugging me like he hugs and loves on her? And I had to check myself. And I think, again, at church, I was hearing the word of God, and then the Lord said to me, you got to appreciate, just because you didn't have it, appreciate that your daughter has it. Appreciate that your daughter has her father in her life, and be grateful that that opportunity has happened for her. And I had to let it go. And And then on top of it, because I was abused growing up, I was scared to hug my children because I was scared that I was going to be the victimizer. I was scared to let them sit on my lap. I was scared to give them hugs. I was scared to give them kisses. And then one day I saw this lady at church with her girls, and they were big. They were big girls. They were sitting on her lap, and I was like, your daughters sit on your lap? And she was like, yeah, these are my babies. And I had to think about that, to check myself again. And what I did, I said, you know what? You're right. Because I was scared, because I was never touched in that way. I was never touched in a loving way. I was never touched in like being held and kissed and adored growing up, that I was scared. I wasn't able to give that to my children. But when that happened, it just opened up the floodgates. Now I love all my kids. Now they sit on my lap. They're big girls, boys, whatever. Hug them, love them, kiss them. But because of those things that happened in my life, if I did not deal with them, at the times that when they were younger, they could have been deprived. I was hurt, so I was what do you call it? Not subliminally, but unconsciously unaware that I was hurting them by not being able to be that mother that they needed. So yeah, it's huge when we have these different damages that happen in our life and don't realize, because we're not giving, we're actually hurting the person that really needs that. We're hurting them because they're not getting that nurture that they need.
That makes sense. Growing up, my mom didn't really hug me, and I just thought it was weird, because when my sister came along, it was a total different story. Like I said, my sister was a difficult child, but it was a total different story with her. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
We hear you.
Okay. There was an echo for a second. And so now when I try to mention anything to my mom, because I was hurt seeing how she loved my sister differently how then she loved me as far as affectionate wise, she goes into default and says, oh, I'm just a terrible parent, I'm just a terrible mom. I'm like, no, Mom, it's not. I'm not trying to tell you that. I'm trying to express my feelings about how you favor my sister, and I wasn't given the same opportunity, because me and my sister are night and day. My sister can do no wrong, and I wouldn't say she's praised, but she's fine. She can do anything and everything's all good. Me, I feel like I have higher expectations from my parents, especially my mom, and it's not even recognized. So, I mean, trauma is, I think it's a cycle, but not only that, but some people don't want to realize that. I'm not saying that she's a bad parent. I'm just trying to express what I was lacking growing up from her. And I just think that's very important for parents to listen and not close that door to their children. I don't have any children, so all I got is 2 barky dogs. But if I did have a child and they came to me and said, you know what, Ma, you didn't hug me as much as I wanted to be hugged. You didn't tell me you love me. My mom will say, I love ya, but it's never like, I love you and give me a hug and an embrace. So to me, it's weird when my mom has a different relationship with my sister. And it affected me, I guess it affected me a lot more than I realized, than I talk about. So I'm on the other end of the spectrum, because I'm not a mom and I don't have any kids. I have a niece and nephew, and I may not agree with the way my sister is raising them, but I have to let my sister be my sister and do her own thing with her own kids. And it's difficult to watch sometimes. Not that my sister's a bad mother. It's just I have different views on how to raise kids, because I'm a different generation than my sister. My she just turned 36. So being a single parent household nowadays is common because it has evolved from what it used to be, a 2-parent household, which was a lot easier, I think, anyway, to raise a family traditionally. But as we evolve as humans and the world and things change, we have to make those we have to adapt to the changing world, and it's not always that easy.
Well,
It's not easy.
I want to tell you guys a quick story. So this topic brought to mind a lot of different things for me. So I'm going to tell you a quick story. I knew a woman who she grew up in an abusive home, and it wasn't her dad who was doing the abusing, it was her mom. Now, they had, I believe, 7 or 8 kids, and the father doted on the daughter. He doted on his daughters. They were his pride and joy. They were his world. But he had one problem. He was an alcoholic. And he would go out, party, he drank, he'd come home, make their mom head spin. So when he wouldn't be around, she'd make their head spin. And she'd beat them because she knew that they meant the world to him. And because she couldn't fight him back, she took all her frustrations out on them. Now, this woman going through this as a child told herself that I would never do my children the way that she did me, because I would never want them to feel the way that I feel. I would never want them to fear me. I would never want them to feel like they couldn't come to me. She told me the story about how when she first started her cycle, and she grew up in the South. She was an older lady. She grew up in the South. And she said when she first got her cycle, she didn't know what was going on because her mom had never had this conversation to her. So, she went down to the creek behind the house and she proceeded to wash her bloomers out because she thought she had did something wrong. And her mom had caught her back there doing it. And the mom cried and said, I'm sorry. She didn't realize that how much the things she did to her child had affected her relationship with her child, because she was afraid to talk to her mother about anything, and she didn't always have the luxury of being able to talk to an auntie or something like that because they all didn't live that close together. So as an adult, when she began to have her own children, she totally reared her child the opposite of the way her parents had did her. Now, she ended up becoming a single parent, and it wasn't by choice. It was just her husband. He was selfish, and he woke up one day and decided he didn't want to be married with 7 kids of his own. He wanted to be free. So he walked away, left her with the house and all the bills and all the kids. And she did what she had to do. She raised her sons to be good men. They held down jobs. They had families of their own, and they stepped up to the plate, and they were active fathers because she taught them how to break the cycle and to be there. So I kind of get where Rebecca's coming from when people say that a woman can't raise a man. Yeah, there are certain things that a woman cannot do as far as teaching a young boy how to be a man, most certainly. But what she did is she taught them the compassion that they needed. She taught them to be diplomatic. Some of the key things that they needed to know to be able to survive in life, which I hate to say it, some men have still not mastered the skill of being able to talk to somebody without getting into their emotions.
Well, let me say this right quick, and then I'll let you go. Let me say this. When people say you can't, that we need to nullify, and we're gonna nullify this, and we're gonna put a declaration right now in the council's corner, right for this day. That we can never say somebody can't do anything. So it's always somebody could defy the odds and do it. There's many women that defy the odds, but when we talk about it, you also have to get the kids' perspectives and all that stuff, whatever. But it can happen. But to say it can't, like totally, oh, you're a single parent, you got a son, it'll never happen. He's going to end up in jail. He's not going to do well in school. He's going to be a bum. that
There
that
are people
that
that
narrative is not
two
gonna work.
family
And,
homes
yeah,
and they end up convicts in jail.
yeah.
So who's to say having both parents is going to make a person any better?
Thank
Right.
you.
So
There's
what
no
we need to
guarantees
do
in
as
life.
parents is teach our children to the best of their ability the difference between right and wrong, and pray that the lessons we impart on them stick with them, so that when those moments come where they have to make a decision that could literally mean life or death, or their freedom and independence versus being locked away in a cell for the rest of their days, that what we have said to them helps them to make a decision that we would be proud of, instead of
And
something that we would be ashamed of.
and that's the key thing, Latoya, to be able to have that voice of reason inside your head all the time. That it clicks off, and you say to yourself, "Damn, what would my mother say? What would my grandmother say?" A month before you make that decision. I always had that in my head. My friends tried to tell me to do a lot of things, and I said to myself, "Yeah, I can do that." But I know my family is good to me, and I know whatever I ask for, because I'm always going to get good grades and do all that stuff and do what I need to do. I'm going to lean on that side. So I'd rather lean on that side than y'all say, "Well, we're not going to talk to you no more." And I would say, "Shit, get the fuck out of Dodge," or whatever. Y'all do what y'all want to, because I'm going to go that route. And that's the side most children need to have, that voice of reasoning, to lean toward their people who take care of them instead of their peers. And that's one of the biggest problems now we
Yep.
have with
A
these
lot
young
of people are not
people,
teaching their
whatever.
kids to think for themselves and to be leaders. My mom always used to say to us, and she still say it to this day, you better be a leader and not a follower.
If I could jump
I
in
think
real
a
quick.
lot of people have a hard time. It is so easy to talk about all of the wonderful things that we got from our parents, that we move forward in life and, we throw out there into the world. And I think we find it very difficult to talk about all of the negative things that we got from our parent, whether they were a good parent or a bad parent or absentee
I mean, I
parent.
tell people in a minute, the one thing I got from my mom is I have my mom's quick temper, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm also very patient, because my dad is a very patient person, but my mom
I think
go off like a man.
I think it's a very difficult conversation for any of us, me included, to say something from my childhood, how it affected me as an adult, and how I view the world, and how even at age 55, I still carry some of those things with me. They will probably never leave me. And they either skew my view, or they help me move through it. And on any given day, I can have a memory of my childhood, and it will lead me into either making a choice or not making a choice, and something that I do. And I think coming forward with those things help you. He talks about that gray area. Growth occurs in the gray area. And I definitely feel like, at least for me, because I'm not speaking for anybody else, that letting that stuff out there, whether you choose to seek help for it or resolve it, but just letting it out of your mouth, and into the universe, that helps me, navigate my way through life, especially being a single parent, raising kids, because like she said, I didn't want my kids to grow up the way that I did, to see me as, she just got us, and, it is what it is. And she doesn't necessarily love us. We know that we're hers, but, we're just here. I wanted my kids to grow up knowing that regardless of the situation that we're in, that they were loved, that they were going to be well cared for. It is my hope, wish, dream, goal, prayer that I send them out into the world to be good humans, and to procreate and produce other good humans, and to bring some value to the world and to somebody else's life. So,
If I could say this, I mentioned. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, David. All right.
Oh,
Were you gonna
look at
say
you.
something?
I just want to see. Dio, see, are you in here? Dietrich.
It looks like it's trying to connect. I was going to say somebody else jumped on the panel.
You just
Trying
real
to be
quick, I
Go
do
ahead.
understand too. I shared about the gender roles being um I was actually having a conversation with my ex today about he would say, oh, no, yesterday he was like, I'll be in Mr. Mom because the kids are with him, and I'm being Mr. Mom. I said, why is it Mr. Mom? Why isn't that Mr. Dad? Why is it that only because you have to pick your kids up and drop them off, it's a mom role? Everything, if you're being a dad, you're being a dad, and you're being an active in your child's life is being a parent. You're being, if it's a mom or it's a dad. So I totally do agree with that, with the fact that there are no gender roles when it comes to parenting. Taking care of your children is what you're doing. You're parenting, you're taking care of your child, either your mother or your father.
Okay. Appreciate it. Dietrich, you in here? Dios.
He looked frozen.
Yeah.
All right.
So, one of the things I learned from my mom is that not to tell her something, one of my decisions that she's going to talk me out of. So when I joined the Army, I didn't tell her I was joining the Army until the night before I was swearing in. Now I told my dad I was joining the night prior to, and he was like, oh, okay. My dad was in the Army too. He's like, oh, okay. But my mom, she kind of freaked out, and she's like, why didn't you tell me? I said, because I didn't want you to talk me out of it because you were scared for me. And so I just always remember that my parents have two totally different personalities, and I learned how to deal with both of them in different ways. And it was, now that I think about it, it's kind of funny. When we were learning about the M16 in basic training, I called my dad crying. I was like, I don't want to touch this thing. My dad was like, oh, well, because I'd never seen a weapon. Oh, where'd everybody go? Am I still here?
I don't know, Sweet Pea.
I'm still here. I don't know what David doing in the background. He messing with settings.
So when it was time to learn about my M16, I was like, I don't want to touch it because I never seen a weapon in my life like that. I never seen a 9mm. I never seen anything. And I was crying on the phone. My dad was like, oh, well, you signed up for it. You got to do what they tell you to do. I was like, yeah, Dad, you're right. Now, if I would have told my mom, she would have made me panic more. So,
I mean, my brother had a similar situation. One of my brothers had a similar situation to that. And even myself, like when my brother decided that he was going to go into the Navy, he didn't tell my mom till after all the paperwork was done and he was getting ready to go to be sworn in because he knew my mom was going to do whatever she could to talk him out of it.
Exactly. And I didn't want my mom to make me scared.
For himself.
Yeah, I didn't want to be scared. I wanted to get out of Niagara Falls because I knew staying here, I personally wasn't going to make nothing of myself. I was too busy partying with my college friends at NU. I was too busy partying with my city friends. And I knew for myself that would be the best option for me is to get out of here and do something because my mom was very lenient and liberal, and which stemmed from her being the complete opposite of my grandmother. My grandmother just turned 107, so my grandma was very old-fashioned and strict. So, yeah, I did not tell my mom nothing because I don't want her to talk me out of it and make me scared, make me panic about my decision.
We do.
I mean, when I decided to move to Louisiana, my mom and I had this, like I didn't tell my mother that I had decided to move or any of those things. I had this conversation with my grandmother, and my grandmother told me to move and to go and, to experience life, to do something different. She's like, your mom has never moved away from me out of fear. She goes, I don't want that for you. I don't want you to just live here because you're comfortable and this is what you know. I want you to go and experience life. Because when I had initially decided that I wanted to go to college out of state, my mom made sure to talk me out of going. And I stayed, So eventually when the chance came again to leave, I was like, I'm gone. And my grandmother was like, well, you have my blessing and your mother will go for it. So I left.
We project our fears sometimes on our kids. And I know, like my mom, she was a hypochondriac. She still is to a degree. And like my son's in the Air Force, and he had to go all the way to Japan. And when we didn't expect him to go to Japan, but when he told us, he got scared too. But I said, babe, I said, you never know what's gonna happen in Japan for you. And he wound up received 7 awards and became a staff sergeant. Who would have thought? And it was some family members that was trying to talk him out of doing it. But I've always taught my kids, I want you to fly. If I'm telling you I want you to fly, then fly. Wherever that may be, I'll come visit you. And mama always got money in the bank to fly where you are or get you home, if you're in any dire straits, but I never want to project any fear on my kids because that's what I felt like people live in this, not everybody, but some people live in this box and they expect you to live in that box with them. And that's not my path. Your path is yours and mine is mine. And somebody said in the comments, some people don't like, they're just chilling in one space that's something for them, and that's it. But for some people, it's to go out and explore. Don't allow fear. I love it. Like there's nothing to fear but fear itself. Go and explore. Go travel. And that's what I've always taught my kids. Don't sit around here in Niagara Falls, or and go explore. Go see what we've never seen. And none of us never seen Japan, but I was, but that was a blessing for him. So we got to stop projecting our fears on our children and keeping them from exploring.
That's real talk.
That is real true. And I think especially because Niagara Falls is such a small place and everybody knows somebody or knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. Like we have a small-minded, I mean, I don't know how else to really put it, like a small town-minded environment. So a lot of people feel comfortable here and complacent, so they don't know anything about living anywhere else in the world except for Niagara Falls.
And that's why he always says travel, leave,
But
go
you know what,
visit
though?
somewhere because you'd be surprised at what the
understand the
world is
concept
like
of
out there.
traveling and seeing different things. But if a person is comfortable with where they are and getting up and going to work and being able to provide for their family is enough for them, then who am I to tell them that they need to broaden their horizons? As long as they're happy, who am I to say you need to do something else? If getting up every day and going to work and bringing home that check so that they can pay their bills and take care of their family, make them happy, then that's all that matters. Me telling them you need to do more and go travel and see the world, who am I to speak for their pocket, first of all?
And you know what? No,
If
Latoya,
they're content with themselves in their life, then it is what it is.
and I say this all the time, and I say, if I made what I made here in Maryland compared to Niagara Falls, I said I would move back to Niagara Falls in a heartbeat.
And be
because
rich.
and be in the cut, and I'll dictate in anything that came up. I would be there because I would be because my pockets would permit me to do it. Yeah. Unfortunately, things didn't pan out that way, and I see how things going down. But I'm still connected with Niagara Falls. But I tell you, and I didn't had meetings and interviews with the superintendent since I had left to try to get me to come back. But as soon as I leave there and certain things, I just never follow back up with it. But I always say to myself, hey, if I make a good living, like, you can go with the hell and do what the hell you want to do, whatever, and go anywhere you want to.
Pretty much.
It's just a matter of getting those positions, because it's so small and it's so political and it's a lot of nepotism there. Then some people don't get those opportunities that they need to have, and it's unfortunate because some of our children are suffering because of that, because a lot of good people who should still be in that area, who probably would want to be in that area, have left because they wasn't given the opportunities to. Unless somebody or we develop a task force to try to talk about bringing some good people back, I just think it's going to be like sinking ship.
Yeah.
continuously, whatever.
In
If I
total
could have
agreement
done
with
things
that.
different, I wouldn't have moved back here. I was very happy in Texas.
You,
But oh,
You
go
from
ahead.
Texas?
I lived in Texas for 8 years at Fort
Wow.
Hood. I love Texas.
I did not know that.
That's my Lone Star state.
Oh, girl, whenever you're ready to come back and visit, I'm in Grand Prairie. Come
Okay,
on.
I'll come visit.
Yeah,
But
I can't wait
yeah.
to see those pictures when y'all two connect.
girl.
So the only reason why I really moved back here is because I was gone from '96 to 2011, and I really wanted to reconnect with my family. But it didn't really go as anticipated. It went like the total negative opposite way as I anticipated. So, but also I had my niece that I didn't want her to grow up without me because I wanted to be a good influence in her life. But had I known then what I know now, I would have stayed my behind right in Texas and bought a brand new built house for $150,000, which is way more than you can get here in Niagara Falls.
Peace,
So.
peace.
So Dietrich,
$150,000 will buy you a nice house in Niagara Falls, won't it?
No.
It won't?
No, I mean it will, but not like it's an older house, not brand new.
Older houses is
look
where it's
here,
at.
you gonna have to school him on that. But I'm gonna bring Dietrich in here because he didn't came in. Dietrich, you in here?
He's frozen.
Dude, get your internet
I need him
together.
to like disconnect from his Wi-Fi and just
Because
go
we just
straight
heard you
normal.
say, Pete, are you in?
Go work today.
All right, we're gonna
Can y'all
move
hear
on.
me?
In fact, yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah, but in Central Texas, you can buy a brand new built house just for you for $150,000, which
There's a lot to be said about a brand new home. You know, they take
right. I
like 10
think
years to settle. An older home, they just have way more character. Every house here is one builder, 300 houses in a community. They all look the same. So there's a lot to be said for an old house. I'm
I
not
don't
against
know.
that. Yeah.
you know. I'll share with you. I lived in Greensboro, North Carolina. I've lived in Cleveland, Ohio. I've lived in big cities. And I've experienced the travel, the traffic. I've experienced all of that. And then, I'm sorry. Then coming back to Niagara Falls, where it is less expensive to live here. It really is compared to all the other places I've lived.
Yeah.
And I have been able to live comfortably and do what I like to do. You know what I mean? And that's what people do. And usually most white, I'm gonna say white folks got it together because they team up with somebody that got an income, and one pay the bills, the other one they use to play with. You know what I mean? So, I think we need to do that more as a community, as African Americans, instead of always staying single. If you partner up with somebody, and you can always have that same lifestyle. But also, I think about, when I work for, it's like coming back here, you have to know when you're working not just for the money, but you're working for the purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's how I look at what I do. I work for a purpose. And because of that, it doesn't matter what I'm making good money. And I think because I'm working for with my purpose and for my purpose, that I make good money. You know what I mean?
It's just too cold there. Can't do it.
I don't want the hurricanes. I don't want the hurricanes and tornadoes, the earthquakes. I just can't do that. And that's why I take the snow.
I just don't miss the blizzards and the feet of snow. I'll take the hurricane over the snow.
Yeah, I throw a snowflake on my neck, and it's a wrap. I can't do it no more.
Oh, girly girl,
I'm not
put a
gonna
damn scarf on.
I ain't never liked being in the cold. I never tried to leave the house when I was there except to go to work.
It was just snowing in Texas, though. You never know. The dynamics might change, honey.
2 weeks ago, it was 78 degrees here today. 2 weeks ago, it was 4 degrees. So you would never know that shit went awry here. But
let me tell you,
the cost of living here is high.
snowed one time and it didn't even stick in New Orleans. So I ain't worried about no damn snow.
Yeah.
I just hate when it get cold here because I didn't move to the South to freeze.
I
Yeah,
got to get
people are
back
not
down
go-
to New Orleans again. I only been there once, and that's a nice little spot.
It's a
I've
ghost
been
town
there
right
before
now.
Katrina.
You ain't missing nothing. It's a ghost town right now.
Yeah, I'm
Really?
probably sure it is.
Yeah, I
Oh
was
well,
down there with
Texas
some
is fixing to
beignets.
open back
Ain't
up.
nothing popping
Everybody can
down
come
here.
here and get sick and have a good time because they fixing
Okay.
to run amok. This time next week, they're gonna be running amok.
So what airport are you close to? Houston?
DFW. I'm right
Oh,
in between DFW and Love Field.
oh,
Equal
okay.
equal
Yeah. She
distances. I
she
sit right
she
in
booking a
between.
flight on your ass, and
That's
you don't even
right.
know it.
I mean, if I have to, I'll bring my blankie and I'll sleep on the floor for all I care. I want
I
to get
got
out of
five.
this
I
cold
got
weather.
5
I'm
bedrooms.
freezing.
You can come. You can come. I got 5 bedrooms. Feel free.
Okay. But
I
I
was
wanted
just in
to
Dallas.
Yeah.
I wanted
Yeah,
to
you
touch
were in
on
Dallas.
Hmm.
See,
I
close
wanted
to
to
Go
the
ahead.
touch on what Lakia said. I think it's not just African Americans that need to do that. We need to do that as a community, like work together. Because like I don't want to offend anybody, but I hate, not that I hate comments like that because I don't understand how it is, but I really feel like we all bleed red and we all need to work together as a community to come up together. That's
Well,
where
I
I'm
think
at in life.
Yeah.
well, I think Anita, when people say that is because
It's
first of
true.
all, you have to take care of your own at first before you can branch out. And some races don't do that. And as black races, we don't automatically do that. It's a lot of self-hate amongst us. So it's not that easy to say, oh, let's just spread our arms and unite everybody,
No, I know
because
it's not
we
that easy.
can't do that with our own relatives and our own stuff. So it's hard. So it's baby steps to go through in that process. So in that case, it's just not that easy. But one of the ways is if we talk about this stuff and start building, and then sooner or later it'll grow. But it's a monumental task.
Yeah,
For
I
years.
guess it is because I'm not used to the disconnect because in the military we all bleed red and you depend on whoever it is. If they're purple with pink polka dots, you
But see,
depend on them to have your back. But see, here in the real world, it's a lot different.
and you
I'm
keep making
figuring that
reference.
out.
You keep making you say make references to the military, but that's like to me amongst everything that's going on when we think about ethnic groups and stuff like that and cultures, whatever. The military is like a small team. Any of us can, as far as guys, if we play on a basketball team, we're gonna be brothers all day long, whether we have whites, Mexicans, and all that, because it's 12 or 15 of us on a team. But when you think about masses of people, it doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't work like that. You have different dynamics. Anytime you bring a group of people together, the group dynamics is the different roles in that. It's a beast, whatever. So just imagine that. So I just want you to think about that when you think about you look at the masses of people and how that impacts. It's not that simple.
Right. And I see a lot of the African American community here in Niagara Falls doing a lot of great things. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Like, where's all the white people? Like, don't they want to be involved in this stuff? I don't know. I just
Listen.
I like to do everything together with everybody. I don't like to,
in a perfect world, Anita, it would be just like that.
I know. You know, my heart is so there.
The only thing we could do is build groups amongst ourselves and keep building groups and adding on to it. And then eventually things will happen.
Start out small and then hopefully it catches a wave.
Yeah. But if you don't do that, if you can't start off one group amongst yourself and say, let me get people that I care about. We come together and everything is carefree. We laugh and we enjoying each other. We even thinking about putting our resources together to work on a project. When you can't do that, you don't have shit. So it don't even matter who when we think about the grand scheme of things, it don't even matter who be talking, what they talking. If you can't take 10 people and you say, listen, this is what we about to do. We're going to doing this, and we're going to have this goal, and we're going to do this. If you can't do that, it's hard and it's frustrating. It's aggravating. And you have people that shut down and say, you know what? I'm only worrying about my damn self and my immediate family. The rest, I don't give a damn. And it's a lot of people who have got to that point.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
You know what one of the problems is?
Oh,
We as a people tend to have
oh my
a
God.
mind frame of I want to be the leader and nobody wants to be the follower. It's like having a tribe of chiefs. Nothing's going to get done as long as everybody has that I want to be charged, I want to be in charge, and I want to call the shots. There's got to be somebody who's got to follow the rules and make sure that things get done while that person is dictating what should happen.
Yeah. And that goes with group dynamics. There's too many people that want to be the big dog or be the chiefs, and people thrive on titles and all that stuff. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. And I could tell, and I keep saying this. I said, whenever things go my way outside of work, that I don't have to be a leader in the school, because I'm gonna say I'm a leader in life. Leader in the life is bigger than the leadership at my job. Then I'm gonna say, y'all can have this. Y'all can have this all day long, because the leader
I really
in
feel
life.
like people get
Yeah.
stuck on those titles. I agree. So long as someone always feels like they have to be able to look down at somebody else to feel better, about themselves, there's always going to be trouble. As far as the Black community, Black men, Black women, we have so much, at least in my opinion, to overcome between our two sexes that it almost seems like it'll never happen. There's always so much finger pointing about why Black women are the way they are, or why Black men are the way they are, instead of just
At some
making a
point, we have to
conscious
take it
effort to
upon
just
ourselves.
accept it. I am who I am. Y'all are who y'all are. How are we going to come together and work to make our community strong like everybody else's? And we just can't seem to make it.
Agree on how to do it.
Which keeps us, I'm looking out for me and mine. I just want to make sure that me and mine are okay.
Go, who was that? Lakid, you was about
I
to
would
say
say I was
something?
going to say that I've been on several boards here at Niagara Falls, and I'm on one now. And the thing is, people don't get out and get in these boards, and they don't get involved.
No.
So as much as we try to encourage more people to get involved, they don't. And so the weight falls heavy on the people that do. Because like I can only do so much. And even though I want to be a help, I still have my family, I still have work, I still have, there's all kind of stuff that goes on. But the thing is that we just need to just step out and stop thinking. So I'm not gonna say anybody's doing this, but sometimes we always think about what people are not doing, so we don't do it. But somebody needs to, like I said before, change the cycle. Somebody has to do something different to change the cycle. I think I'm grateful for the movie and learning and hearing and reading of Harriet Tubman. I know that would have been me back then. I would be like, we getting up out of here. That would have been me. But she had to be somebody to help break the mold. I know she wasn't by herself, but somebody has to break the mold. Somebody has to stop the cycle.
Yeah.
And again, one of the things we talk about change. What you would tolerate, you will not change. And you change when you have fear of something. So usually people change out of fear or passion. So some people, they're not going to change unless they're pushed to the point of uncomfortableness. So if you have dynamics of people and they're getting, public assistance and all that stuff, and all they got to do is submit their little stuff and all that, they're never going to change because they're not pushed to the brink of being uncomfortable. But I could tell you, if you're a regular working person and somebody tell you, we about to have massive layoffs and all that stuff, and I can encourage y'all to start looking for other jobs. Those individuals is going to be on a hustle. and they're going to try to find something. But when you have a security blanket, there will never be change. Like, okay, what's going to happen? I'm still going to get mine. So this whole damn country, society is, excuse my language, is fucked up. It's messed up. But we're gonna get ready to wrap this up. We're over 2 hours, so we're gonna go. It's 11:19. We got 10 more minutes, so we're gonna have some closing comments, and we're gonna get out of here. So, anybody got something to say?
I mean, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for allowing me to share my story. That woman that I spoke of was actually my grandmother, and she grew up to be a person who helped everybody in her community. And when she passed on, there wasn't an empty seat in the house. We had people standing all around the funeral home, telling their stories about all the things that she did for them. How, they would run away from home, or they had, situations. And my grandma was that mediator. She was that listening ear. She was just, that backbone that sometimes people need. There was a friend of the family who told the story of how she caught him skipping school one day, and she beat him all the way to her house and then beat him all the way home. So he was like, and he'll never forget that as long as he lives, because this was a person who cared enough about him and his future to take the time out and be like, nah, you're not going to be out here acting a whole fool. And then you think you're going to come by my house? Oh, no, you're going to get it together, sir. So those are like the stories that she told me about how she grew up. Those are the things that help to shape and mold me. Those are the things that I carry with me, because it's a lesson in every story that she told. And that's why I always say, be honest with yourself and others, because she was the one who taught me that nobody likes a liar. And when you break a person's trust, that's not something that you can get back. There's no amount of apology that will ever fix that.
Much love, much love.
I
like that.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Lakia.
No, I would say, and I'm gonna always say it, love thy neighbors and love thyself, and to give grace, and give forgiveness, because forgiveness is a healing for yourself, not for the other person, but for yourself. When you can let go, but I'm gonna say to you, I'm gonna share with you, I kind of disagree with that. I know I've been in places where somebody's trust had been broken. Trust was broken. But I allowed myself to put myself out there again, to be vulnerable, to trust them again. And we can. You know what I mean? If you choose to. It's a choice. And sometimes, because we are all growing, that's where grace come in. And I allow grace to abound, and I give it because I need it. And that's why I give it. So so that's why I say to unto others as you do unto yourself, because I need that grace. So I give it. I need you to trust me again. I know I slipped and I messed up before, but trust me this time. I think I got it now. So I'm always say that.
I mean, I feel you, but like you said, that's about knowing your personnel. Some people, they just don't have that in them.
Right. You gotta make that
And
choice.
you got to be able to discern whether that person is worthy of you giving them a second chance or not. I'm sorry, but if you spit in somebody's face 5 times and then you come back and apologize and say, hey, I'm never going to do it again, that's a roll of a dice if a person's going to take a chance. Because as soon as you apologize and they forgive you, here come loogie number 6.
Could be.
So,
The gift of mercy is an amazing thing. It really is. I'm kind of in there with you.
Granted, and that can be a dangerous thing as well.
It takes a lot of resolve to forgive someone. It is so easy to stay mad at somebody. I disagree and agree with what she said. It warms my heart to hear it, because I can't always do that. But to be vulnerable has its upswing. It really does. We already know, what could happen on the negative end of it, but there is an upswing to making yourself vulnerable, to other people, to life all over again. I love this topic tonight because I feel like everybody could touch that. I've been hurt where I've hurt somebody else just because I was hurt. Hopefully I didn't damage nobody, in being that way. But I feel that this topic touches each one of us. To be able to come out of yourself and to be able to open up to other people and tell people your journey, especially walking in your life now, and being successful and raising kids and loving the Lord and loving your friends and all the good things that are going on in your life. When my brother died, my sister eulogized him as can't think of the flower, but it grows from mud. Whatever this flower is, it's the only flower that grows from mud and blossoms into something wonderful. And I always hang on to that because some of us came from mud, just the worst situations. And look at us now. We've blossomed. And I think to be able to share that and to live in that and to admit those things are wonderful things. I don't have no hate or disdain, for anybody that can't do that or don't want to do that. Live your best life. I'll never have no hate for anybody for that. For me, period. And hearing all of y'all speak about different hurtful things that have happened in your life and how you have moved past that, either through forgiveness or leaving somebody behind or therapy or talking to God or finding God, whatever it was, whatever your form of therapy was to get you to a better place in life and to make you a good and wonderful person. I just really enjoyed this particular topic. So thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Thank you. Thank you for the insight you bring to it and the different emotions, your insight, your experiences. I appreciate you all. Who's next?
I'll go next. It was nice listening to everybody's different perspectives and experience. Hi, Herbs, kitty. It was a nice conversation. I enjoyed it. So I hope everybody has a good night and a good week. And tomorrow's Friday. So
yeah, exactly. We get Monday and Thursday confused, whatever.
It's over.
Yeah. But thank you, Fanita, for coming on and sharing your experiences and your fears and all that stuff. And again, we grow from all of this, whatever. And that's
I'm
the only thing we can do.
blossoming.
Yeah. Yes, Herb.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
What's the deal?
Good, man.
Any closing remarks?
Good. Nah, not me. The optics are what they are, man. Next week, new time, or same time, new discussion.
All right. And for me, I always enjoy and appreciate hearing each and every one of you bring your experiences to the forefront. And I think for people that's watching it, whether it's live or during a watch party, it's good stuff, whatever. And we have to have more conversations like this. And I'm dead set on this in my belief in this and this mission. And that's why I keep doing it. I can easily say, you know what, I ain't doing this anymore. Nobody's I don't have the numbers where it's 200 people watching it and all that stuff. I guess if I got real nasty, it'll come and I stay the course. But I believe in what we're talking about. I believe in these subject matters. I believe that each and every one that we talk about impacts some people one way or the other. And I believe that no matter what, that sooner or later it's going to be. I'm not like everybody else that go around and copy everybody else thing and say, oh, I'm going to do a podcast about that, the same subjects. This stuff is authentic and engraved in my heart. in my heart. And like I said, this was my scenario. I was that kid in this scenario. And that's how near and dear it is to my heart, that I know that it has to get out, and we have to speak about it. So with that said, before I start crying, and y'all love to see that, but I ain't gonna give y'all that.
It's okay for guys to cry.
I know that, but I'm not about to. I'm past. It's been times I've been on here and I have cried on podcasts, but I'm past that, and I'm getting past this, and that's another evolution of me to be able to talk about it and to keep it moving keep it moving, and that's where it's at right now. And I'm ready to be in that
the
mode.
ultimate sign of friendship. You trust us enough to cry in front of us.
Yeah, I know what it is, whatever. And I always say we are one big family, and we got to grow. As long as we're not doing harm to one another, and we can help each other, that's where it's at. We need to find more people that say, I'm not jealous of them. I don't care what they have. We're in this together. We can grow and build. And until we be able to master that, it seems like we stuck in quicksand. I'm tired of being stuck in quicksand. I'm tired of being uncomfortable. I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired of it. So that's why I had these conversations. With that said, we're going to sign out. We got some things going down on Monday.
Bye,
You'll
y'all.
see the post. We'll see the posting, and then we'll pick it back up on Thursday, and we'll keep the rotation going. Everybody have a good weekend. Stay safe and be good.
Do we need pen and
Thank
paper
you.
on Monday?
Pen and paper. You might want to take pen and
Have a
paper.
good
It's
night.
always good to take notes.
Not everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Y'all be
Good
good.
night.
Love y'all.
Love you too, y'all. Be good and be safe.
Bye. Love you all.
Bye.
Been a blast.
Bye.
Yeah, silly.